As I said earlier, I intend to be a partner in securing a better future. We're going to be working, you're going to be working with the United States, and we're going to make sure that the Middle East is going to be a safe and secure place. It's a very important place in the world, means so much. There were so many people who said the Middle East, and this has been going for many, many decades. I've read it many times, that World War III will begin in the Middle East. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. There was a time that you would have thought it could have, but it's not going to happen. There won't be World War III, hopefully at all, but it's not going to start in the Middle East. We're not going to have a World War III if we're smart. There'll never be a World War III. Our work begins right here and right now. From ancient times, this region has been extraordinarily mixed with respect to people, culture, religions, all of the different elements of national characters, unlike maybe anywhere else on Earth. And for 3,000 years, there's been conflict. For whatever reason, there's been tremendous conflict, always conflict. But today, for the first time anyone can remember, we have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to put the old feuds and bitter hatreds behind us. And that's why so many people in this room, they didn't get along. Some did, some didn't, but they're getting along now. This has brought the people together. This is the first time the Middle East crisis has brought people together as opposed to driving them apart. And to declare that our future will not be ruled by the fights of the generations past, which is foolish. So together, let us continue in the spirit of cooperation and goodwill that has finally brought us to this incredible, historic breakthrough. If we do, together, we will reach the Middle East's incredible destiny, a safe and prosperous and beautiful crossroads of culture and commerce, faith in humanity and geographic center. This will be the geographic center of the world. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank you all for what you've done and for this quick notice. It all came together just at one little period. It just came together. The greatest deals happen that way. If you do anything about deals, that's all I've done all my life is deals. The greatest deals just sort of happen. And that's what happened right here. And maybe this is going to be the greatest deal of them all, not just nation building, not just having to do with this or the political whims. This will be maybe the greatest deal of them all, period.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and down.
All right, Shalom to the elect of Israel. I want to start by giving all the praises, honor, and glory to whom it rightfully belongs, which is Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect of Israel. And this lesson is going into how Trump has said, recently, October 13th, that there's not going to be a World War III. And the thing about that is he's dead wrong. Donald Trump, the U.S. president, is dead wrong about that there's not going to be a World War III. He's dead wrong about that. All right, because the scriptures explicitly talk about a World War III. They clearly talk about World War III. Donald Trump is dead wrong about that, man. And as Hebrew Israelites, we need the Lord to start off World War III, because in that way, our kingdom is going to come through there. And he said in the beginning, it's not going to start in the Middle East. Now, let me just go ahead and get a scripture real quick. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 9, starting in verse 13. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before the Most High, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. Now, where is the river Euphrates? The river Euphrates is in the Middle East. See? Right where those red dots are showing you where the river Euphrates is. That's out there in the Middle East, right? It says, and the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And that third part of men is talking about Esau, because in the Bible you have three classifications of men: the sons of God, the sons of men, and the sons of the wicked. All right. If I said that wrong, so like I said, In the Bible, you have three classifications of men: the sons of God, the sons of men, and the sons of the wicked. And Esau is the sons of the wicked. All right? And their main ruling place here is America. All right? So what these angels are, what it's saying, loose, is meaning the Lord is going to give them a green light to start off this war in the Middle East. All right? Which is going to be World War III. That's going to be the hot spot of World War III. Okay? And that war eventually, all right, in the midst of it, America is going to be destroyed by nuclear fire. So the angels are, it's a certain time that the Lord is going to give them that green light. That's why it says in the four angels, it says were loosed, meaning, you know, they were given the green light by the Lord, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year. So a specific time, right, to start all of this off, you know, to kick the war off in the Middle East, to start it off, right, which ultimately is going to lead to America's destruction. So there's going to be a World War III, all right? And yes, it's going to be in the hot spot of it is going to be in the Middle East. And what a world war is, let's look it up. What is a world war? A world war is an international conflict. So it's not just going to be in the Middle East. It's going to be all around the world, across nations. It says a conflict means a fight that involves most or all of the world's major powers. You know? So you have, you know, strong nations around the world. So when they're fighting each other, that's what a world war is. And of course, you know, you're going to have nations that aren't world superpowers fighting each other. Okay? Now you have some nations in Africa, like Libya, you know, that's talked about, they're going to be teamed up with Russia. You know, you got Iran. It's not a world superpower. Okay? But these things are going to happen. All right? Because it's the will of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. So a World War III is inevitable, meaning unavoidable. It's going to happen. And don't, you know, this man Trump saying if you're smart, well, it's not up to you. You know why? Because your very thoughts are in the hand of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. This is Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart, which in the Hebrew, heart is lab, which means mind, is in the hand of Yahweh, meaning the Lord controls these leaders' thoughts. You know, the thoughts they have, you know, their decision making, all of that. The Lord controls it. And the Lord does not lie. He has prophecies that he wants fulfilled. So therefore, one of those prophecies are World War III. And what a leader does when he makes decisions, these decisions affect the people. And guess what? His decisions are controlled by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right? So, let me go ahead and get this now. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, starting in verse 1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, meaning, Lord is saying, in the time that he's going to deliver the Israelites out of captivity, he's going to do something. And what is that? Verse 2, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shaphat, which means Yahweh's judgment, because there, as it says, and will plead with them, meaning judge them, there for my people and for my heritage Israel. So the Lord is going to take these nations down into the, you know, he's going to gather nations down to basically in the Middle East. Okay? You know, and it's going to be mass judgment there, you know. There's going to be fire and all of that. Okay? It says, and it's why? Because of what they've done to his people, the Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, Native American Indians. World War III is being, the Lord is starting World War III because of what these heathen nations have done to us. It says, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Okay? You know? So there's going to be a World War III, and you can't do anything to avoid it. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16. Actually, no, I'm going to get this one. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 34 and verse 16. And it says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read, which is the Bible. No one of these shall fail, meaning none of the prophecies are going to fail. None shall want her mate, for my mouth it hath commanded, in his spirit it hath gathered them. Okay? So none of these prophecies are going to fail. All of them are going to come to pass. Let me go back to Joel 3 real quick. Jumping down to verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Right? Talking about the literal heathen nations. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. So the nations of the earth are getting prepared for war. And what war? World War III. It says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Right? And plowshares into swords and pruning hooks into spears. A plowshare and a pruning hook, those are weapons of agriculture. Right? Spears and swords, those are weapons of war. So what this is saying is that the nations are taking the money that they would normally spend on agriculture and they're using it to get ready for war. They're spending it, on war investment and everything. Let the weak say, I am strong, meaning let the insignificant nations, basically they're strong. Why? Because they have nuclear capabilities now. They're gonna have nuclear capabilities. Verse 11: assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Okay? So the Lord is gathering the nations to get ready for war. And it's going to start in the Middle East. And there's no peace that you could try to, come with that's going to stop it. All right? Because our kingdom is coming. All right? World War III, that's going to be the end of this time, as it says in 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter. 2nd Ezra chapter 7, verse 43. And it says, but the day of doom shall be the end of this time. Right? Which the day of doom is when America is destroyed. And as we read in Revelation 9, that's going to be during World War III while it's ongoing. It says, but the day of doom, which is doomsday, all right, America's destruction, which is going to be in the midst of World War III, shall be the end of this time. That's going to be the end of this devil's rulership. Because why? In the midst of World War III, Yahweh Shai is coming back. It says, in the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past, and temperance is at an end, and fidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. Right? So World War III, that's why we need, the Lord to bring these prophecies to pass so we can get the kingdom. Because we're going to have to go through this to get to the kingdom, our rulership that has been prophesied for ages to come. So you should be, you being a Hebrew Israelite, you should want World War III to, you should be willing, you should be ready, you should be, praying, you should be, for it, okay? You should be, wanting this stuff to happen, man. All right? Because we ain't going to get the kingdom unless it happens. Right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 8, verse 13. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound. Okay? And this woe represents the 3 world wars that are prophesied to take place on the earth. So you should want, so basically, Slakia, it's already been prophesied, man. It's already been prophesied in the Bible, right? Revelation 11 and 14 says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Yeah, the second world war, that passed already. And the third world war is on its way. All right? Hey, the Lord is in control, not Esau, not Trump. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things. The Heavenly Father is the one that brings the times to pass. He's the one that brings the good times and the bad times to pass. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Right? Verse 8. A time to love and a time to peace. And a time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. Okay? You know? A time of war and a time of peace. And right now we're in a time of war. Okay? And the Lord is the one that's bringing it. You know? And the scriptures talk about that when because Yahweh Shai is coming, right? And as we read in Revelation, that there's going to be a world war, you know, the third woe. There's going to be a third one, right? Yahweh Shai is going to come back in the midst of it. But let me read this real quick. Revelation chapter 1, starting in verse 1. The revelation of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, which Yahweh gave unto him, to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bear record of the word of Yahweh, and of the testimony of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, and of all things that he saw. So the things written, you know, here in the book of Revelation, right? These were given to one of Yahweh Shai's 12 disciples, right? By the name of John. All right, John the Apostle, who's also called John the Revelator, right? The Lord showed him things thousands of years ago, okay? Thousands of years ago, all right? Let me just get something real quick. It says almost all, I typed in when did John write Revelation? It says almost all New Testament scholars now take the view that Revelation was written during the reign of Domitian, sometime around 95 to 96 AD. You know, it says the book. Another one says 68, 69. All right, but here it says the book of Revelation, also known as the book of the Apocalypse or the Apocalypse of John, is canonically the last book of the New Testament. All right, but where did I just see it say that? Slovakia. All right, but if you read this little note under it, it says the book of Revelation is commonly dated about 95 AD. So the point I'm trying to make is that the Apostle John, he wrote all of this way before these things, you know, were even thought of by these people, okay? The Lord already, you know, had these things, you know, planned out. So, verse 3, Revelation 1 and 3. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. Right? The time is at hand. And we see that World War III, that time is at hand. So there's going to be a World War III, man. And Yahweh Shai is going to come back in the midst of it with the heavenly host, you know, of angels, you know, which are going to be in so-called UFOs, which are the chariots of the Lord. Right? Because the scriptures talk about him returning in the midst of it. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. I'm going to start at starting in verse 49. Behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth. And right? And really, you know, the elect is talking about. And he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. Right? He's come back as a thief. And people are not going to be, people ain't expecting Yahweh Shai to return in the fashion that he will. His chariots and everything. Remember the strangeness of his salvation. Verse 31, listen, and one shall undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, right? You're going to have, you know, infighting even amongst towns and cities, but also amongst nations. So this is World War III. This is World War III going on. The world is at war, pretty much, right? Then it says in one realm against another, because it's going to go from people fighting each other to people to the earthly realm, which is people, fighting the heavenly realm, which is Yahweh Shai and the angels. It says in one realm against another. Verse 32. And the time shall be when these things come to pass, and the signs shall happen which I showed thee before. And then shall my son be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. And when all the people, here's the point, and when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. So people are going to be fighting. World War III. Verse 34, and an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together as thou sawest them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. Okay? So they're going to leave off from the battle they have. So it's going to happen. It's going to kick off. Ezekiel 38 goes into it a little bit, with Russia and everything. Right? Ezekiel 39 goes to the aftermath. All right? But World War III is going to happen, and in the midst of it, Yahweh Shai is going to come back, and the nations they're going to turn from fighting each other to banding together to fight against Yahweh Shai, and they're going to lose miserably, man. Okay, so Trump is dead wrong about what he said, and nukes are going to be used in this. So I'm going to end it with this. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 9 and verse 5. For every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. Right? Because that's how wars were fought in the ancient world. Clanking of swords, shields, garments rolled in blood. From stabbing each other, cutting each other. Right? That's how wars were fought back then, right? Says, but this world war shall be with burning and fuel of fire. All right? Because nukes are going to be used in here, Nukes are going to be used during World War III, man. So this is what's coming. So, remember, Trump said that. Trump said it's not going to happen. Well, the Lord says otherwise, and we're going to stick with the Lord, because Trump is a man, and the Lord, right, is not a man that he should not lie. Okay. So with that, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, every well, peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect of Israel. Shalom to the elect.